Retirement advice that only says save more is not a plan. It's just a sentence. And for a lot of people over 40, it is not even a very helpful sentence. Because if you are behind on retirement, you probably already know you need to save more. The real question is how much, and believe it or not, in what order, and how can you do it without wrecking your life today? And that is where most retirement advice fails late starters. It gives you rules of thumb. It gives you benchmarks. It also tells you where you should have been by now. But this retirement advice does not always tell you what to do when you are already behind, still carrying responsibilities and trying not to panic. So in this video, we are going to separate the advice that sounds smart from the advice that actually helps after 40. By the end, you'll have a real sequence of steps to take, not some generalities. This includes the exact order to put your dollars in, a sequence that you can start this week, and one that fits a life with a mortgage, with kids, and a job, not some spreadsheet that considers none of those things. First, let's start with why so much retirement advice falls apart the moment a real person tries to use it. Here's the pattern. You search, how to catch up on retirement, and you get one of three answers. Save 15% of your income, cut your expenses, just invest in index funds and wait. None of this advice is wrong exactly, but none of it tells you what to do first, or second, or what happens if you can only do one thing this year but not all three. It treats your money like it's infinite and your time like it doesn't matter, when really both are the constraints that determine your success. Most generic advice also assumes you're starting from zero, with no debt, no kids, and you have 20 years of flexibility. That's not the audience of this video. If you're watching this, you've probably got at least one of those pulling at your paycheck right now. And it's not a small group. Researchers at Pew found that nearly half of adults in their 40s and 50s have an aging parent and are also raising or financially supporting a child of their own. That's not a side detail. That's the actual financial life most save more advice is written as if it doesn't exist. So the advice that sounds smart on a finance blog quietly falls apart the second you try to apply it to an actual Tuesday in your actual life. Even financial planners say this themselves. One certified financial planner put it plainly. A real plan has to tell you what to do first, then next, and most don't. They're a stack of numbers and charts, not a sequence of actions. And here's the part nobody tells you though, and it's actually good news. Being in your 40s or 50s isn't just a deficit to make up for. It's a specific kind of advantage, and the tax code was deliberately built to let you use it. Congress did something most people never hear about. Here's some context first. Fidelity's own data puts the average Gen X 401k balance at around $192,000, with another roughly $104,000 sitting in IRAs. Against the seven-figure number most people think they'll need, that gap feels enormous. Starting at age 50, the IRS lets you put away more money than younger workers, specifically because lawmakers recognized that a lot of people need a final stretch to catch up. For 2026, if you're 50 or older, you can contribute up to $32,500 a year into a 401k or similar workplace plan. If you're between 60 and 63, that number jumps again, up to $35,750. Those numbers are not mistakes. That's the government handing late starters a bigger shovel than everyone else gets. And there's a second account almost nobody thinks about the right way. Your health savings account, if you have one. It's the only account in the entire tax code where your money goes in tax-free, grows tax-free, and comes out tax-free as long as it's for medical costs. Most people treat it like a checking account for prescriptions. Late starters who know better treat it like a second retirement account, because healthcare in retirement is one of the biggest expenses you'll face, and this is the one tool built specifically to prepay for it tax-free. So before anyone tells you to save more, the smarter first move is making sure you're using the accounts that are already stacked in your favor.
But accounts are only half the picture. The other half is a decision most people get backwards, and it costs them tens of thousands of dollars without them ever realizing it. Quick question: when do most people decide to start collecting Social Security? As early as possible. At age 62, the moment they're eligible. It feels safe, like locking in a win. But here's what that decision actually costs. For every year you delay past your full retirement age, up to age 70, your monthly benefit grows by about 8%, guaranteed and adjusted for inflation for the rest of your life. Wait 3 years, from 67 to 70, and your check is roughly 24% bigger every month for as long as you live.
It's hard to find any investment that offers a guaranteed, government-backed 8% a year with zero market risk. This is about as close as it gets. This is exactly the kind of decision generic advice skips over completely, because Save More doesn't even mention it. But for a late starter, optimizing when you claim can matter more than years of additional saving. Now, none of this works in isolation. Even if you do all of this perfectly, there's one thing that can quietly undo it, and it's the thing most advice treats as a separate problem instead of the same problem. Here's the trap. People treat pay off debt and save for retirement like two competing teams, and they think they have to pick one. You don't. You sequence them.
Step 1. Always never miss a required payment on anything you owe. That's the floor, not the goal. Just make sure every minimum gets paid, every month, no exceptions.
Step 2. If your employer offers any kind of match on your 401k, contribute enough to get the full match before anything else. That's free money with a guaranteed return, and walking away from it to pay down debt faster is one of the most expensive mistakes you can make. Step 3. Now attack your highest interest debt. Credit cards, personal loans, anything above roughly 6%. This is called the debt avalanche method. Every extra dollar goes toward that one highest rate balance, while everything else gets just the minimum until it's gone. Then you roll over and do the same thing to the next one.
Step 4. Once that high-interest debt is gone, redirect that same money into your retirement accounts at the catch-up levels we just talked about. A low-rate mortgage, by the way, doesn't need to be paid off early to do this right. It can sit there while you invest. The math usually favors that, not against it.
So that's the sequence. Match first, high-interest debt second, then catch-up contributions. No guessing involved, not a vibe, just an order. So now you've got the accounts, the Social Security timing, and the debt sequence. However, there's one more piece of conventional advice worth questioning, and it's the one people resist the most. Most advice treats work longer like a punishment, something you only do if the rest of the plan failed. But the research tells a different story, and it comes from one of the most cited retirement studies that exists. Economists found that delaying retirement by just 3 to 6 months has roughly the same effect on your retirement income as saving an extra 1% of your paycheck every year for 3 decades. I'll say that again. A few months versus 30 years of extra saving. That's the trade. And the researchers found the biggest reason why. It's mostly the Social Security effect we just covered. You work 1 year longer, claim 1 year later, and the rise in your Social Security benefit alone accounts for most of that gain, not the extra paycheck itself. This isn't a suggestion to work until you drop. It's simply a math fact. A short delay does outsized work because of how it stacks with Social Security timing. So now you've got the accounts, the Social Security timing, the debt sequence, and the real value of a short delay. Now there's one more piece, and it's the one that quietly does more work than people expect. If you own a home, you're sitting on an asset that most retirement calculators ignore completely. Research from Vanguard found that fully using your home's equity through downsizing, relocating, or even just knowing it's there as a backup can boost retirement readiness by 20 percentage points. For people with lower account balances, the effect is even bigger. In the lowest income bracket studied, the share of people on track for retirement went from 15% to 42% once home equity was factored in, nearly 3 times as many.
You don't have to sell your house tomorrow. You don't even have to decide anything right now. You just have to stop leaving it off the page when you're adding up what you actually have. So here's the full order, all 6 pieces together. And please notice, none of it required the save more as an instruction. 1. Capture your full employer match before anything else. 2. Use your HSA like the second retirement account it actually is. 3. Clear high-interest debt, then redirect that payment into catch-up contributions. 4. Think seriously about delaying Social Security, even a few years, for a guaranteed lifetime raise. 5. Know that even a short delay in retiring does outsized work, mostly because of how it stacks with that Social Security timing. 6. Count your home equity as part of your real net worth, even if you never touch it. That's not a slogan. That's a sequence you can follow, and it's one you can actually start this week, in the order that matters without blowing up your life while doing it.
Let me be frank. Nobody's coming to save you on this. Not the government, not your employer, not a lucky break. But you watched this whole video, and that's not nothing. That's actually the first move. And if you haven't, go ahead and subscribe and hit that like button to help get this video to others who may need this same advice.